This is Astrid Mars, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about discovery and inquiry learning. Discovery learning and inquiry learning puts students in charge of their own learning through guided objectives and activities rather than explicitly teaching or lecturing students. This usually includes hands-on learning activities and discussion to engage in critical thinking and, like the name suggests, discovery. So the principles of discovery learning are problem solving, managing the learners, connection, analysis, and feedback. Feedback is really important. It really wouldn't be considered discovery learning if you just let students run loose. There are clear goals in discovery learning, and the teacher does engage with students to ensure that they're on the right track to achieve those objectives. So if you look to the right of the purple box, you'll see a student with paints. So what the teacher could have done is tell the student that red and yellow make orange. However, through trial and error and discovery, this student is combining red and yellow to see that they make orange. He's combining red and blue to see that it makes purple. And in doing this activity, he's engaging different areas of his brain and his body to make meaningful connections so that there's more of a chance that this information will be stored in his long-term memory. So as previously stated, the teachers are facilitators in this. They guide students, but they're not there to lecture, and they're not there to explicitly tell students the answers. The benefit of this is that students make meaningful connections. There's more of a chance that it will be embedded in their long-term memory, and it's more likely that students will be engaging in learning that actually matters and is relevant to their life, especially as students get older and have more choices. So to the left of the pink box was an image taken from a Hobie conference in 2023. So the teacher right here is working with students and is answering questions, but they're not telling students what to do or what they're supposed to be. We're doing it for them. So students are trying to construct a shed for free food fridges that would go up around Albany. The teacher's making sure that they're safe, but she isn't doing it for them. So discovery and inquiry learning is really supported by cognitivist theories. So what we're really concerned is with the internal processes that students use to construct knowledge that's meaningful for them, instead of just listening and receiving knowledge from a teacher. So this works with connectionism because students are actively engaging in activities to construct their meaning. So they're getting a lot of different exposure and opportunities to make these connections. It also works for information processing because it's drawing on students' previous knowledge. The knowledge that they're using actively will eventually be embedded in their brain to become automatic, which they can then use to make even more discoveries. It's not so much concerned with the social aspect of language learning. Rather, it's more of an individualized approach to the mental processes that occur. This strategy generally works best for transitioning or expanding L's because they have a much larger vocabulary, but it can really be modified to any level. There has to be a lot of planning. So for entering or emerging L's, it's going to be much more guided. You're not going to ask students a question and have them go off and try to find the answer. But rather, you might use stations with a lot of visuals and images, audios to pair with it. They're going to be doing movement. Maybe there are texts, but they're at a level that students can engage in. With transitioning or expanding learners, they can ask a question, maybe even formulate their own question, and then use either for transitioning texts that the teacher has chosen that are appropriate, or for expanding, maybe they're at a level where they can research it for themselves. Maybe then they can report to the class what they've discovered. This really does work this really can work with a lot of different subjects. So it's really popular with science. You've probably seen it used for like the life cycle of a butterfly. But you can use it for anything, especially with older students. As they learn about the world around them, there are different activities that they can engage in to understand the world and discover what they'd like to know rather than just being told. So, for example, to the right of that box is a transitioning L. She listened to what others talked about in terms of what community meant to them, and then through that, she understood what community was and constructed that knowledge for herself and then wrote about it. So yeah, discovery learning is a great way to engage with students in creating their own knowledge.